Now the Hollywood Reporter has seemingly outed the two actresses' names. They're pretty much being bullied to respond. As TMZ is now reporting, of course witnesses are staying anonymous. They're terrified of threats and bullying. Now this smells like Blake's PR team trying to spin why they're not coming forward.
Blake Lively was once the darling of the entertainment world, praised for her fashion sense, her witty social media posts, and her picture-perfect family life. But a recent bombshell cover story dropped by The Hollywood Reporter has hurled her into a frenzy she never saw coming. For some, it's a scandal that's been waiting to erupt. For others, it's a breathtaking implosion of a carefully curated image. In just a few short days, Blake went from polished starlet to embattled public figure, desperately trying to control a narrative slipping through her fingers. But how did it all get so out of hand? What triggered this media firestorm, and why is the entire industry buzzing about it? The seeds of this controversy stretch far beyond one shocking magazine cover. They reach into hushed rumors, cultural misunderstandings, and allegations of manipulated evidence. And the fallout? It's threatening to change the way Hollywood, and perhaps the public at large, views Blake Lively. This story is anything but simple, and it's riddled with unexpected twists that might just leave you questioning who's really telling the truth. Everything erupted on February 22nd, when The Hollywood Reporter unveiled its newest cover. At first glance, it seemed like typical industry fare, two big-name celebrities illustrated in a stylized, attention-grabbing way. Yet, one detail immediately set social media on fire. The bizarre cartoon depiction of Blake Lively launching a literal slingshot at Justin Baldoni. It looked so over-the-top and archaic, something you might see in a medieval tapestry, not a modern editorial. People couldn't decide whether to laugh or gasp in disbelief. Despite the comedic flair, the illustration felt undeniably pointed. In an era where one headline can make or break a celebrity, fans question the motive behind it. Was it pure satire? A thinly veiled personal attack? Whatever the intention, the message was clear. This wasn't just a playful jab. It was a giant spotlight on a feud that no one outside the inner Hollywood circles realized was already at a boiling point. The moment that cover hit the stands, Lively's team went into what can only be described as meltdown mode. A statement swiftly denounced the illustration, calling it sexist and harmful. They insisted it perpetuated negative stereotypes about outspoken women. At first, there was a murmur of sympathy on social media. Celebrities drawing attention to problematic media portrayals can sometimes spark real discussions. But the tide quickly turned as people took a closer look. Was this cartoon truly dangerous? Or was Lively's camp amplifying a minor incident to deflect from something far more damaging? The more Lively's team doubled down, the more skepticism brewed. A single cover, cartoonish and a bit silly, was suddenly the focal point of a heated battle about sexism in Hollywood. Many online observers found the outrage disproportionate, especially given more pressing controversies in entertainment. Instead of fueling a moral debate, it fueled jokes and ridicule. Memes sprang up overnight, mocking the hyperbolic outrage. As one Twitter user quipped, "If you can't handle a silly drawing, how are you going to handle legitimate criticism?" But the magazine cover was just the tip of the iceberg. As more details surfaced, it became evident that Lively's meltdown might be tied to deeper issues, namely a legal back and forth with Justin Baldoni. Allegations of harassment, inappropriate behavior, and personal discomfort on set started popping up, most of them traced to an amended lawsuit that Lively's team filed. Here's where things got especially murky. Reporters discovered that key text messages and communications mentioned in the original complaint disappeared in the revised version. Instead of clarifying the situation, these omissions raised eyebrows. Why remove entire chunks of conversation if they supposedly supported Lively's case? Legal analysts pounced on the irregularity, suggesting these scrapped messages might contradict or weaken her claims. It all pointed to a carefully orchestrated attempt to salvage a narrative that was beginning to crack. Even everyday fans, who typically root for Lively, felt a twinge of betrayal. The swirl of vanishing evidence and frantic damage control didn't square with her public persona of honesty and authenticity. Was something being deliberately hidden, or was this just sloppy legal housekeeping? Either way, it looked worse by the day. Then came another layer no one expected: Justin Baldoni's faith. The Hollywood Reporter article delved into Baldoni's religious practices, highlighting how his Baha'i background shapes his worldview, particularly his open, affectionate demeanor. By his account, hugging or praying before filming wasn't a power move. It was a sincere expression of unity and love. Lively's team, on the other hand, portrayed these same gestures as uncomfortable, potentially crossing professional boundaries. The question then became, was this a genuine complaint about personal space and workplace respect, or an oversensitivity to cultural differences that got twisted into something sinister? For critics, it was a turning point. If Baldoni was just following deeply held values, how did it spiral into a meltdown of accusations? Some started to suspect that the conflict had been seized upon, maybe even manufactured, to serve a bigger legal or PR strategy. In a business where narratives can make or break careers, the notion that a fundamental misunderstanding ballooned into a scandal felt strangely plausible. As if the cultural clash angle wasn't enough, rumors began swirling that Blake Lively exerted near-total control over the set. Far from being a mere star hired to fulfill a role, she allegedly micromanaged everything from the script to the color grading. Crew members, speaking anonymously, recalled that her involvement often went from collaborative to aggressively controlling. Such stories conflicted with Lively's public brand, an approachable A-lister who balanced stardom with genuine warmth. Yet multiple insiders insisted that her demands delayed production, overshadowed the director's vision, and caused friction among department heads. Suddenly, the narrative of wronged actress versus overbearing male co-star didn't look so black and white. Could it be that Lively's meltdown was partly an attempt to mask her behind-the-scenes authoritarianism? Some critics believe so. They point to the relentless coverage of alleged harassment as a strategic diversion, steering attention away from the actual tensions building on set. Meanwhile, supporters argue that a strong woman taking charge is often labeled difficult, and that we shouldn't conflate leadership with dictatorship. At this point, no one can say for certain, but the puzzle pieces are leading to a far more complicated picture than the original accusations suggested. While Lively's team scrambled to reshape the narrative, Justin Baldoni's camp remained steadfast, releasing statements hinting they had extensive receipts. These include detailed call logs, emails, and possibly even on-set video footage that paint a drastically different portrait of events. Each time Lively's side claimed inappropriate behavior, Baldoni's lawyers presented evidence suggesting mutual agreement, cultural custom, or direct textual proof that contradicted the charges. Legal experts who've examined the available documents describe Baldoni's defense as quietly methodical, ticking off each accusation, pairing it with verifiable timelines, and refuting it point by point. Meanwhile, Lively's case appears to pivot again and again, adding new angles or dropping key bits of evidence whenever one approach doesn't land. It's the sort of legal whiplash that, if you're a neutral observer, only fuels suspicion. But that wasn't the whole story. Even as Baldoni's side meticulously compiled facts, Lively's supporters fired back with claims that emotional discomfort or perceived threats don't always show up in black and white documents. They argued the intangible vibe on set can be as real and valid as any text message. The debate rages on. Is Lively voicing genuine grievances that are just hard to prove? Or is she orchestrating a storyline that conveniently omits everything that doesn't fit? In the midst of this saga, one more name popped up: Jenny Slate. Whispers began that Slate had filed a human resources complaint of her own, though specifics remain maddeningly scarce. Did she lodge issues similar to Lively's, or is it something totally unrelated that's being pulled in for dramatic effect? No one outside the immediate circle knows for sure. What's certain is that Slate's silence speaks volumes. If her complaint matched Lively's claims, wouldn't it be helpful for Lively's legal team to make that public? And if it doesn't match, why reference it at all? The indefinite hush stokes the possibility that Slate's experience may contradict Lively's narrative, weakening the entire basis of her meltdown. On the other hand, if it aligns with Lively's accusations, it could bolster the case at the 11th hour, delivering a serious blow to Baldoni's defense. For now, the industry can only speculate. This tangled controversy, swirling with accusations, cultural misunderstandings, and allegations of behind-the-scenes tyranny, has blossomed into something far bigger than a typical Hollywood feud. For Blake Lively, the stakes couldn't be higher. Her carefully maintained image is under intense scrutiny. Every fresh detail threatens to topple the notion that she's the confident, unflappable force she so often portrays. Instead, some see a star who's panicking, lashing out, and shifting blame in a desperate bid for control. For Justin Baldoni, the outcome matters just as much. The damage to his reputation could be irreversible if these allegations linger in public memory without sufficient refutation. Yet, his methodical approach, backed by a thorough record of communications, suggests he's fighting to unearth a truth that might reveal Lively's meltdown as more performance than substance. Who's right? Who's wrong? Or is the truth hidden somewhere in the cracks? As new legal filings and statements trickle out, fans and casual observers alike are left to wonder if we're witnessing an authentic struggle for justice or a cautionary tale about the perils of power and PR spin. One thing is certain, the conversation around boundaries, cultural respect, and authenticity in Hollywood has never been more charged. In the end, perhaps the biggest losers are actual survivors of real misconduct, whose voices risk being overshadowed by a spectacle of accusations that may or may not hold water. If Lively's meltdown is genuine, it underscores how quickly lines can blur in an industry fueled by performance. If it's less than sincere, it raises concerns about the weaponization of legitimate social movements. Either way, the stakes loom large, and the fallout is far from over. As this drama continues, keep your eyes peeled for the next twist. Because if there's one rule in Hollywood, it's that the story isn't finished until the final credits roll, and sometimes not even then. Whatever you believe about Blake Lively's meltdown or Justin Baldoni's defense, one fact remains: this scandal won't be forgotten anytime soon. Now the question is, will either side emerge unscathed, or will both learn that when it comes to Hollywood controversies, no amount of star power can protect you from the harsh light of truth? And that's where we'll leave it. The puzzle pieces are still shifting, the facts remain in dispute, and more revelations could drop at any moment. Whether you're on Team Blake or Team Baldoni, one thing's for sure: this story has put everyone on high alert. Only time will tell which version of events stands the test of scrutiny, and which one ends up buried by the evidence. Thanks for sticking with us through this deep dive. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell if you want more inside scoops on the controversies rocking Hollywood. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, there's always more to the story than meets the eye.